From the Channel Seed Studios, welcome to The Hook. A look behind the lines with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. Powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
And hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Hook. My name's Ken Miller. You can hear myself along with Trent Condon Monday through Friday on Des Moines Sports Station, 106.3 KXNO. Let me get the sweatshirt in there. And that's Mike Palm, the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports. A lot going on in Las Vegas. We'll touch on a couple of those things. But, Mike, before we get started, we should both take a minute and wish our producer, Aiden Wyatt, a very happy belated. His birthday was yesterday, but 22 years old for Aiden. So HBD to you, Aiden.
Happy birthday to Aiden. You've come a long way from Gladbrook.
Thanks, guys. I'm from Rhinebeck, Mike, but I appreciate the thought.
Close. They're all consolidated districts. They're all Cedar Falls, whatever.
Yeah,
Thanks,
regardless of where you're from, happy birthday from the bottom of our hearts. Let's move on. Mike, I want to go back to Thursday night.
Wait a minute. I'd like to press this issue. What are you in your junior or senior year at Iowa State?
Senior, last semester.
What's that?
Senior year, I'm in my last semester.
And what's your degree going to be in?
Journalism.
And is there any hope of a job beyond this everywhere for you when you graduate?
I think so. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
So you're a short timer.
No, he's going to be a full-timer, I think, at Iowa Everywhere in Cycle Fanatic. If I had to guess, that's just my guess.
Yeah.
There might be
That's
something
just
like
my
that,
guess.
yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully it works out. We enjoy doing this with you, Aiden. You're part of the
Appreciate
team
you guys.
here. So Mike, we didn't want to start with you. We'll get to the Lions. We'll go, et cetera in a second. But it's been a huge story this week in Las Vegas when it comes to the MGM properties that have been hacked, and maybe Caesars was hacked and kept it on the down low prior to. But people trying to check in, you can't play a slot machine, you can't use a debit card. Mike, this is a disaster for MGM.
Well, let me tell you something, Kenny. So I was just dealing with something. It was why I was a minute late logging on here. So it came out in the Las Vegas Review-Journal yesterday. Nobody knew about the Caesars deal and that they paid a ransom. But then they also said, as Caesars said, if you ever hit a jackpot at Caesars or made a wager of more than $999, there's a chance that your driver's license number and social security number have been compromised.
Oh, my.
Now, I stayed in hotel rooms, so you always had to put your credit card down on there, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I just get a fraud alert from my bank. Did you make a purchase in San Diego, California?
Oh, no.
And all I'm thinking about is Caesar. So I was on the phone with the bank for 45 minutes. I mean, here we go.
That's something. So you stayed at Caesar's property when you used to come out here?
I always had offers, comp rooms. I stopped playing during pandemic, Kenny, because I'm a dice player. And with the mask, you can't hear anything. And I tried it once, and I said, I just couldn't do it. And I just sort of lost the urge, actually. But for many years, I was a 7-star, so I had comp. I think 1 year I had 312 room nights out of 365 days. I rarely use it, but they make you have the room to get your offers in that, whether it's an event or free play. But you always had to put for incidentals or whatever your card down. So that was my card on file with that company. So I'm very concerned, and I'm going to ask my bank probably to change my get a new debit card. But also, if they have your driver's license number and your social security, your date of birth, they can apply for credit, get credit. I mean, it's when I attended the spring American Gaming Association Board of Directors meeting, we had 3 regulators give the presentation. They were in the roundtable forum with Bill Miller, the president of the AGA, and Bryn Gibson, who's the former head of the Nevada Gaming Control Board. They were asked at the end, there was one from Michigan, one from Massachusetts, and then Bryn Gibson. What's the biggest issue facing the gaming industry in the next 5 years? And Bryn Gibson says there's only one correct answer. There can't be another correct answer. It's cybersecurity. I mean, and this is before we knew about the cage deals with calling in and this and that. And now, they get hold of your systems. We confirmed that if something happened here, we could still process payroll through our outside vendor. MGM's so specialized. They have their own players reward system. They have their own payroll. So they're shut down across the board. If they don't get, they can't even make payroll.
Isn't that, oh my gosh. And you've seen, how do you get those customers back, Mike? You mean hours.
3.5 hours to get in your room, and then the keys don't work, and you can't, you can't make any reservations. Everything's manual, and it's. I don't know. I met 2 different couples at Bar Canada the other night that left an MGM property and came to the D and checked in. They just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Yeah. By the way, Bar Canada and the D look very good on VSiN. Got to be happy with that setup, right?
Yeah, it looks good. There's work to do, though. It's hot. It's very hot under the lights. I think I'm going to bring some orchids tomorrow for my show on Saturday there. We can make some money growing orchids. It's very warm.
Yeah.
So there's some things to do with controlling the climate, but you're right. It looks great. Visually.
Yep. Aesthetically pleasing, no doubt about it. I want to go back to last night, Mike, particularly we had you on the radio. Trent and I did today, and the end of the first half. Al Michaels thought the half was over. I don't know if you were listening to Michaels.
I was listening.
He thought that they're just they're going to run out the clock.
He said they're going to be up 3 at the half. They're going to be this and that. And then, like, after they made the first down, then he said, well, maybe they can.
Right.
I mean, everybody in the world knew, first of all.
Except Al Michaels.
Let's I don't want to, criticize Al Michaels, too. He didn't have a great game. But, I mean, I remember him on Monday Night Baseball, right?
So do I. ABC. Yes.
ABC Monday. And they always had the playoffs and the World Series.
Yep.
Anyhow, there's all this controversy, and I was in the middle of it on VSiN today. Everybody wants to repeal the touchback rule on a fumble through the end zone, and we can't have it anymore, and it's too punitive, and the ball should just go back to the ball should go back to the spot of the fumble plus a 10-yard penalty and loss, and all of this nonsense. I don't want to get into that debate, but what is Jefferson doing anyhow? He's supposed to go down at the 1 and make the Eagles use a timeout, and then there would be no final possession, right?
Right.
They might not even do anything there. Or if you make them burn 2. But how many times? Bill Belichick teaches the running backs and the receivers not to lunge the ball to the pylon because so often it becomes dislodged and it's a touchback.
If you had the Vikings and the points in the first half, that's an all-timer, bad beat.
Could be the beat of the year. I said top 5 for sure, but we'll see. But it's almost impossible. Once he catches the ball at the 2-yard line, at that point to lose the bet is almost impossible.
It really is. And then for them to go down and kick the field goal too.
You also know they didn't complete a pass on that drive to kick a 61. It was 5 rushes.
No, I know. It was run. Yes.
5 rushes.
They were trying to run out the clock. Anyways, let's move on. What's Deion Sanders doing for business at Circa as far as people wanting to bet on Colorado?
Oh, yes. That's all they want to bet on. We opened this 18. It's up to 24 now. Mm-hmm. But, what is Jay Norvell doing?
Yeah, why would you poke him, right?
You had a small spot there where you have they're coming off an emotional win and then looking ahead to Outson. It's that perfect sandwich spot. I know it's a rivalry game, but it's not really a rivalry game.
No, it's not.
It's much less than an Iowa State rivalry. You know what I mean?
I lived in Denver, and I hung out with guys who went to see you. This game means nothing. Nothing
to see you at all.
No.
Nothing. No. And when they tried to move it to Mile High, that was a disaster, right? But why would you give him? Here's the big thing. He went after his mother. His comments were directed at Deion's mother. And what Deion doesn't post as he's handing out and saying bulldoggy and all this is I'm sure he talked about he went after my mama, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And his mother is very close to him.
Mm-hmm.
Raised, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what he's saying is my parents taught me, which is a shot at Deion's
it's
mother.
Yep.
I mean, it's terrible. If you ever thought there was any chance there'd be a little lack of focus or maybe a lethargic first half, forget about it.
Yeah, you're saving the personal game to next week after Lanning's comments
it's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, you were aware of what Lanning said when he was asked about your thoughts on Colorado leaving for the Big 12. Well, what have they ever done? I'm paraphrasing, but we'll hear that a lot next week. But fascinating. So Circa's obviously in Iowa. They're in Colorado, coming soon to Illinois and to Kentucky. But what does a Colorado game do in the state of Colorado as far as right?
Well, it's just it does right for all of our entities, including Nevada. Yeah. The Colorado-Nebraska game had more right in Colorado than the Broncos-Raiders game. Think about that.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Now that is a hated rivalry, and This team is the story of football. Forget college football. It's a bigger story than Aaron Rodgers getting knocked out for the year. It really is. 60 minutes is there.
I know.
60 minutes.
Right.
It's incredible.
Big noon kickoff. ESPN College Game Day.
Timmy says that this is a polarizing story. I don't think it's polarizing at all. I think Deion Sanders has done a great job of appealing to all demographics.
Mm-hmm.
He's always appealed to white people as well. I think that everybody's behind a turnaround story, and they're doing it the right way with good football and creating all this excitement. I mean, I don't think it's polarizing at all. I mean, some people might have said he couldn't do it and might be the first when they do lose a game to say, well, there you go. They're just wrong. Look what they've done already. I mean, just the fact what they've done already. They're going to be 3-0, and they're going to have to go to one of the probably 5 toughest places in the country to play in Outson Stadium. And we'll see then if they can hang with the elite teams.
And then don't they get USC?
And they go home to USC. Ugh. Home to USC. So, I mean.
Oh, boy.
But after that, even if you can get through that with 1 loss, even if you had 2, I think they're very winnable next 4 games in the Pac-12. They close. They have at UCLA will be tough at the Rose Bowl because I think UCLA is better defensively this year, and they seem to have found a quarterback. And then they close with the Utah game. So tough at the end of the year too. But they kind of get a stretch after USC where I think they can put together, string some wins together.
So going back to when you guys hung your win totals, I think 3.5 was the number for Colorado. At the time, did you see much action on that? Either way,
we saw under from the pro bettors.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 2 pro bettors that have told me that they were the worst Power 5 team of the last 30 years last year. But it's a whole new team.
Yeah.
It's a whole new team. But then you say, well, could he just take a Jackson State team, and go to the Pac-12 and compete? There's arguments. I think the coordinators get a lot of credit. This is a very well-coached team.
It is.
And if you watch them, they started out very simple week 1, the simple offense against TCU. They're starting to add some different NFL packages now. And they'll continue to add them because they have professional coaches. You know what I mean? They will get better as the season as they continue to get more complex against, routes and route trees that college defenses never face.
Deion certainly did on the other side of the football and can do nothing but just help that out. So this is a bad weekend in college football. As far as marquee matchups, what will that do for you guys tomorrow? Will you see a downtick?
Yeah. And they go at 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock Eastern, the Colorado State-Colorado game, which is, Michigan State plays Washington, so that's a good game for our clientele, and an intersectional game. And then I think that the marquee game is obviously, in terms of a spread and importance, a division, a conference, Florida, Tennessee, which is through the years been so one-sided. I mean,
it really has. Tennessee's got crushed.
In my early 20s, I lost a lot of money betting on Peyton Manning against Florida, and they would get down 3 touchdowns. I mean, I can relive it and know where I was different years, and and at the time betting 300-400 on a lot of money for me. As a young person and a school teacher, and I was betting way over my head. I was convinced he would beat him, and he would never come close. He'd always be down 3 scores and just have to throw every down. And finally, T. Martin beat him the year Manning left, and of course they went on to a national title. Beat him in overtime in Knoxville the second week of the year.
And were you on him that day, or did you had enough?
I did not, because I didn't think anything of T. Martin, so I didn't play the game.
Yeah, unbelievable. So let's go to Sunday, because boy, oh boy, there's some games on Sunday. What do you make about the Ravens and the Bengals, and what kind of right are you seeing on this game? The Bengals can't be as bad as they looked, can they?
The line opened 2.5. Now it's 3.5. We made the contest line 3.5. I believe. No, they can't be. But I think Cleveland is really good too.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think Jim Schwartz makes Cleveland's defense very, very, very good.
Yeah,
he exploits these matchups. He's got 2 great edge rushers. And, I mean, everybody in the secondary was a 1st or 2nd round pick. Deshaun Watson was terrible in that game, and they won 23. Awful.
Right. Yeah.
God awful. Which people say, see why back Cleveland. That goes to how good their defense was. 13 drives by the Bengals, only 2 had multiple first downs. So, I don't know. I thought Lamar was gone for many reasons, but when they let go of Greg Roman, I said, well, then there's no way they're going to try to keep him. And I don't know if they were, but I think there might have been a little collusion amongst NFL owners in this to not go after Lamar, to keep this quarterback market somewhat tenable. And I think Arthur Blank was a big part of that in Atlanta. And then it ended up where they were able to re-sign him. But they bring in Todd Monken, who's a tight end, wide receiver, offensive coordinator. I didn't like the game plan against lowly Houston. I don't like trying to make Lamar a pocket passer. I don't think he is. I didn't think he looked comfortable. He took a couple sacks that I didn't think he should have taken. They only called 2 design runs for him in a game that they led wire to wire, Ken. I don't think there's a pathway to success. They would have been better off hiring his older brother, Jeff Monken, who runs the triple option at Army.
He does.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I think there's trouble there. They've got running backs are injured, obviously. They got offensive line injuries.
Yeah.
This sets up for this is a total overreaction, and Cincinnati is one of my plays on Sunday.
Green Bay and Atlanta, does that get your attention?
Oh, yes.
Is that one of them?
Yeah, I circled it as my game to watch in the I'll be at Bar Canada because I know they won't put the sound on that at Circa, but I'll have the sound on that at Bar Canada. Because we always have Packer fans, we always have Bear fans, we always have Vikings, the Midwest. The NFC North is always represented at Bar Canada in good numbers because of our client base. I'll have it on that. I've bet the Packers. Here's a matchup of 1-0 teams I think we'll learn more about. I mean, Arthur Smith, I think, is trying to turn Atlanta into what Tennessee was when he was there. Run the football. Don't make mistakes like Tannehill, although I don't think Ritter is as good as Tannehill. I mean, we played 4 games last year, and then against Carolina, we've yet to see him try to throw the ball down the field. Everything's safe. They've got a good running game. They can run after the short pass catch, but, I mean, he had 7 completions for 17 yards in the first half. They took advantage of short fields with the young turnovers and did what they were supposed to do. I think Green Bay actually should be a small road favorite. They were. Now they're a dog. I took 1.5 with Green Bay. I'm very interested in that game to learn more about these two teams.
I am too, because I think Jordan Love is maybe better than a lot of people thought he was going to be. The game last night, back to it for just a second. What do you make of the Vikings now at 0-2?
I thought the Vikings played better than they did in week 1, but now they find themselves 0-2 and facing the Chargers, and they might be out of it early here. And then what do? Do you dismantle this team?
Yes.
I mean, I clearly think they made a mistake watching the game last night with Dalvin Cook. This kid is not
without a doubt.
It's not even close, Kenny.
And they can't run the football.
No, it's not even close. I think that made a major mistake. Cousins is who he is. He's going to turn the ball over here and there. He's going to put up a bunch of yards. That game wasn't his fault.
No.
That game. They had some very bad breakdowns in coverage with long hitters for Philadelphia. They kind of exploited Devonta Smith and got themselves out ahead. I feel better about who Minnesota is, but I still think they're in a really bad spot, and I still don't trust the defense. How about the look-ahead line on the Chargers? That's only 49 the total. How can that be? That game's got to be in the mid-50. I'll bet it over as soon as I can get access to it. I mean, I saw it not in Nevada, but 49 seems wrong to me.
With Justin Herbert and Kirk Cousins and those
two
skill guys, and those defenses. Help me out on this one. It was Sunday Night Football. It's Miami and New England. Miami went crazy week number 1. Yeah. Condon, I just won't pipe down about this Patriots team. He really legitimately thinks the Patriots are a player. I think Miami's going to paste them. What am I missing?
Well, you could argue that New England was the better team in the opener against Philadelphia.
I agree. It's not a stretch.
You could argue that. I'm still not sold on Mac Jones. I think Belichick will defend Tua and those receivers better than obviously the Chargers. What were they doing? I mean, you're not going to double Hill. You're not going to try to bump them. You're not going to. 19 yards a catch. That's ridiculous. I mean, Staley's going to be gone. I mean, they're wasting a career of Herbert there. Yep. But I think at 3, I like Miami. I would play this game just on the number. It's 3.5. 3.5, I wouldn't play him. I think it'll be a closer game.
Do you?
Weather maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's some humidity there in the Northeast, which is different than humidity in the South. I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting game. I don't know if New England has the speed, though. Miami is all about quick decisions and speed with Tua, right? It's all about it. It's all timing and it's all rhythm. If Belichick can find a way to throw off the rhythm, maybe they have a shot. And at 3.5, I wouldn't want to lay it. But I said to you, I desperately wanted to bet Miami to get to the Super Bowl. It's just a question of Tua's health.
Yeah,
that's it.
The speed of Waddle, the speed of Hill.
Yep.
That you can't teach that, obviously. I know you're short on time, so real quick, let's go to Monday night. Cleveland and Pittsburgh. That's the later of the 2 starts. That's
I bet it
a
under.
big spot.
I bet it under. I like Cleveland. but I have Cleveland future bets. I think the defense is really good, but I also think Deshaun is struggling, and I think the Steelers with Deshaun struggling, they become a little bit one-dimensional. Maybe it was a little bit the weather, but he was short on every throw, right? He just couldn't get the ball down the field. The defense was so dominant. I think this will be a game with few points in it. I like Cleveland to cover the 2.5, but I bet it under 39.
Yeah, I've got futures too, and if it does come home to roost, I can thank your panel on sign up weekend because that's where I learned about this Browns team because I was not including them. Last thing for you, we'll let you go. I promise. The Bears. You did not like him. You took a major stand against him. You bet an alternate under total. Yeah. Boy, they looked awful in week 1.
Yeah, and I think Tampa Bay will beat them in Tampa Bay. They're a bad team. A bad O-line, a bad D-line, an inaccurate quarterback. I don't think much of their coach and the coordinator. I just think they're a very bad. They were the worst team in football. I'm not sure that they're better than the third worst team this year, right? I don't see where the improvement is. Yeah. What's the Bears fans' excuses now? You had 20 years of saying it was Favre and Rodgers. What's your excuse now? And on the excuse train, let me close with this, Kenny. I bet Ohio +3 tomorrow. Okay?
You did.
Condren, Williams, they're all, they're going to carry Matt Campbell off on their shoulders. They don't win one-score games. Ohio has the better quarterback. That Canadian kid is back, right? He's better than Rocco Medier or whoever that Iowa State quarterback. That kid, I get more zip on the ball throwing to the flat. They don't win close games. They got to go. Athens is not an easy place to play. I can just see Iowa State making turnovers, missing field goals, and this being a 1-point game either way, or an outright upset. I've bet Matt Campbell too many times before laying a short number, and I never come out on top.
Chris Felica tweeted that. I don't have it in front of me. Matt Campbell's record in games where they're favored by 4 or getting 4, awful.
Ludicrous.
Like 6 and 20 or something like that.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
But he's better than Ferentz, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, but you know what? The shine's coming off. Cyclone Nation doesn't love him like they once did.
Really?
We're out of time. No, I think that they better win this week for Matt Campbell. I'm not saying he'll be fired. I don't want.
How about if Purdy wins the Super Bowl in the NFL? Then you take another hard look at Matt Campbell.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something if he does? Oh my gosh! And they got a chance to, Mike.
They got a real chance. Yes, they do.
Go do your thing. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for being with us on the Hook, part of Iowa Everywhere, sponsored by Circus Sports here in Iowa. Happy birthday, Aiden. We'll see you next week.